Trump Energy Secretary Chris Wright saying there will be some short-term pain for a long-term gain as oil prices settled over $100 for the first time since 2022. This is as Iran's new top leader vows to keep up attacks in his first statement since being appointed. Let's welcome Larry Elder, show host Larry Elder. Glad to have you on this critical topic right now. Is the fight against evil more important than a short-term bump in gas prices? Because that's the argument that the president and the administration are making. Many Americans understand that and they support it. Yet on the left, it's all about inflation and gas. And why are you doing this?
Well, clearly, it's worth doing. I mean, my goodness, we should have taken out the ruler of Iran years ago. Every single president since Iran became the so-called Islamic Republic said that a nuclear-armed Iran was unacceptable. Donald Trump finally did something about it. And Jackie, I was looking at the Iranian-Iraq war just the other day from 1980 to 1988. A minimum of 1 million people died, maybe 2 million people. The estimates vary. But what Iran did is that they gave kids aged as young as 9 to as young as 17 years old necklaces to paradise and had them walk on foot across minefields to clear the mines so that their tanks could go through. Tens of thousands of kids were murdered because of this. What civilized country does that? My point, Jackie, is these are the people we are fighting. They are sick and they need to be defeated.
Yeah, I hear you, but take a listen to Whoopi Goldberg's theory about Trump's actions in Iran.
I was thinking about it yesterday because I thought, well, okay, why haven't we been talking about Savannah Guthrie and what's going on there?
And her mother.
Why have we not been talking about the Epstein files? Because that's still there.
Yeah.
This is meant to get us so worked up that we are unable to see anything else.
Okay, so I'm not really clear exactly what she's talking about there, Larry, because what I think she's trying to say is, oh, you know, Trump just started a war as a distraction, so we wouldn't talk about Savannah Guthrie's mother or Epstein.
Well, I'm sure they have producers meeting every day. No one is putting a gun to Whoopi Goldberg's head and telling her not to talk about Epstein, not to talk about Nancy Guthrie if she wants to. The point is that she despises President Trump. It doesn't matter what he does. If he walked on water, she'd say he can't swim. Why aren't they talking about the 20 or 30,000 Iranian civilians that were murdered by the thugs that government in power? Why aren't they talking about the oppression of Iranian women who'd be free when and if this regime goes away? Why aren't they talking about that? What happened to Me Too?
Yeah, somehow the human rights abuses in Iran that are ongoing just don't really matter at this point. Larry Elder, thank you so much, sir. Great to see you.